There is a truck in my old fleet records that ran 412,000 miles on its first engine, and it did not wear a blue oval. The men I worked for swore by Ford their whole lives, and every year the repair invoices told a different story than their loyalty did. So let me ask you plain, what if the truck that outlasts an F-150 also costs you half as much to keep running, and you have been paying extra for the badge this whole time? My name is Wade Coleman. I turned wrenches for a living for 31 years, and for the last 14 of those, I ran the maintenance side of a work fleet, 60-some trucks. My job was simple, keep them running and keep the bills down. That meant I saw something most truck buyers never get to see. I did not see the shiny truck on the dealer lot with the flag flapping behind it. I saw the same truck 3 years later, up on my lift, leaking, groaning. With a repair estimate, I had to walk into the front office and defend. And I paid those bills out of a budget with my name on it. So when I tell you which trucks come back to the shop and which ones do not, I am not repeating something I read online. I am telling you what I signed for. And I will be honest with you right at the start, because I have to be. I loved Ford trucks. I drove them. My father drove them. When I was young, I would have argued with any man who told me another brand was built better. I was wrong. Not because Ford builds junk, they do not. But because I was looking at the wrong number my whole life. I was looking at the sticker in the window. I should have been looking at the ledger. I remember the exact truck that taught me. A 3-year-old F-150, low miles, and the turbo let go on a Wednesday. $2,200. I stood in that office and I could not defend it, because the truck had done nothing wrong. It was just built expensive to fix. The ledger does not lie, and the ledger was telling me I was spending thousands of dollars a year I did not have to spend. It took me too long to listen. Quick word before I go further. I kept a shop notebook for 31 years. Every truck, every repair, every dollar. And there is far more of it than fits in one video. I put the whole of it into a guide you can get in the pinned comment below. The notebook is the long version. If you want it, it is there. I will not mention it again. Now let me get back to it, because I know exactly what you are thinking. You are thinking every one of these videos is somebody with a grudge against Ford, or somebody paid by Toyota, and you are right to be careful. So I am not going to give you my opinion. I am going to give you numbers that anybody can look up tonight for free. There is a company called IC Cars. Every year, they go through the records of nearly 400 million vehicles, and they work out one simple thing. What are the odds this truck makes it past 250,000 miles? 250,000. That is the number that separates a truck you keep from a truck you bury. And here is the thing that stopped me cold when I first saw their study. The average vehicle on the road today has under a 5% chance of ever getting there. Under 5. Trucks do better than cars, but not by as much as you would hope. The whole truck average is only around 13%. And when you line the trucks up by that number, the brand at the very top of the whole heap is not the one selling the most trucks in America. Not even close. So which 4 brands beat Ford at the one thing Ford has spent 100 years telling you it is best at? Stay with me, because the answer runs against everything the commercials taught you. Before I name them, I have to tell you why this happens. Because if you do not understand the why, you will walk onto a lot next month and make the same mistake I made for 20 years. Here is what nobody selling you a truck wants you to sit with. A truck does not die of old age. Let me say that again, because it is the whole thing. A truck does not die of old age. A truck dies on the exact day the repair costs more than the truck is worth. That is the day. That is the only day. Your truck could run to 500,000 miles. The engine does not care how old it is. The frame does not know what year is stamped on the title. What kills a truck is a man standing in a shop looking at an estimate for $4,000, looking at a truck worth $6,000, and doing the math and walking away. I watched it happen 100 times. The truck did not fail. The math failed. I had a half-ton once, ran perfect, body straight, seats barely worn. The transmission needed $3,800. The truck was worth $5,000. So we sold it for scrap money, and it left my lot under a tow chain. A truck that would have started the next morning if we asked it to. That is not a broken truck. That is a truck that got too expensive to save. And the brand you buy decides how often you end up standing in that exact spot. So follow me here, because this is the part that changes everything. If a truck dies the day it gets too expensive to fix, then longevity is not about how tough the metal is, it is about how cheap it stays to fix. A truck that costs you $200 a repair gets fixed forever. A truck that costs you $800 a repair gets junked early, even if the steel would have gone another decade. Toughness is a story they sell you on television. Cheapness to fix is the thing that actually keeps a truck alive in the real world. And now look at the numbers with me. Across every model they make, a Ford costs the average owner around $775 a year in repairs. A Toyota, across everything they build, runs about $440. Ford ranks 21st out of 32 brands for reliability. Toyota ranks 8th. So it is not just that the Toyota runs longer. It is that every single year, it is in your driveway, it is quietly asking you for a few $100s less. And that gap is exactly what decides whether you keep a truck 15 years or give up on it at 8. The expensive truck talks you into the grave early. It does not break more often. It just costs more every time it does, until one day the number is too big and you quit on it. Now, let me show you the 4 brands that get this right, and let me start with the one that has no business being on this list at all. The first one is Honda, and I know how that sounds. Honda is a car company. They do not make a big diesel. They do not build a work truck in the way you and I mean it. But they make the Ridgeline. And the Ridgeline has a 14.7% chance of hitting 250,000 miles. That is triple the average vehicle on the road. And here is the part that matters for your wallet. Honda as a brand is the 3rd most dependable name in the entire study. And the parts are cheap and they are everywhere. The trick with a Honda, and this is the thing fleet guys know that regular buyers do not, is that it is built on car bones. That sounds like a weakness. It is a strength. Car bones mean the mechanic already knows it inside out. The parts are stocked at every counter in America, and nothing on it is exotic or special order. A water pump on that truck is a couple $100s in an afternoon. On a fancy turbo half-ton, it can be 4 times that. You are not waiting 3 weeks for a part off a boat. You drive in, they fix it, you leave. That is what keeps a truck alive. Not muscle, convenience. If you do not tow a 5th wheel, and you just need a truck that hauls, works, and never surprises you, this is the quiet answer nobody talks about. I put 2 of them in my fleet late in my run, almost as an experiment, and they became the 2 trucks I forgot about, because they never once gave me a reason to remember them. That is the highest praise a fleet man can give a vehicle. The ones you forget are the ones quietly earning their keep. The second one is GMC, and specifically the heavy-duty side, the Sierra 2500 HD. That truck has a 22% chance of crossing 250,000 miles. Now compare that to the Ford it goes up against, the F250 Super Duty, which comes in at 18.6%. The GMC outlasts it. And here is the trick most people miss with GMC. It is the exact same truck as the Chevy Silverado underneath. The same frame, the same engines, the same bones. But you can often buy the Chevy version for a couple thousand less and get the identical longevity. Same guts, different badge, smaller price. I bought Chevy and GMC heavy duties for my fleet for years for exactly that reason. Here is the insight I would rewind for if I were you. The big straight-six diesel and the small block gas V8 in those trucks are old, simple, understood designs that have been in service for decades. Simple is what lasts. Every clever new thing they bolt onto a modern truck, every 10-speed automatic, every cylinder shut-off gimmick, every turbo they add to squeeze out fuel economy, is one more thing that fails at 90,000 miles and costs you a paycheck. The GMC wins by doing less and doing it for longer. The third one is Ram, and I have to be straight with you here, because I promised I would be. The Ram 3500 is the single longest lasting pickup in the whole study. 39.7% chance of 250,000 miles. That is the highest number on the entire board, higher than any Toyota, any Ford, any Chevy on the list. And the reason comes down to 3 letters and 1 word. That truck can be ordered with a Cummins diesel, and a Cummins is a commercial engine that got dropped into a pickup. It is built to run 1,000,000 miles in a delivery van and never blink. Now here is where I will not lie to you, because that would make me no better than the salesman. Ram as a brand is not the cheapest to fix. It will not save you money on the small stuff the way a Toyota does. The truck earns its place on this list on longevity alone, not on low bills. But if you are a man who drives 60,000 miles a year and tows heavy for a living, that diesel is one of the very few engines that will genuinely outrun a Ford Super Duty and keep pulling long after. Buy it for the engine. Go in with your eyes wide open on everything else. That is the honest version, and the honest version is the only one worth listening to. I ran 3 of those diesels hard for years. The trucks around them wore out. The engines never did. When it came time to sell, the miles on the clock scared people, but the men who knew engines paid top dollar anyway, because they knew exactly what they were buying. And the fourth one, the one I saved for last on purpose, is Toyota. Because Toyota is the only brand that wins both fights at the same time: longevity and cost. The Tundra has a 30% chance of 250,000 miles. The Tacoma, the midsize, sits at 25%. Both of them beat the F-150 on longevity handily. But now bring the repair bill back in, because this is where it gets almost unfair. A Tacoma costs the average owner about $478 a year. An F-150 costs $788. That is the whole video in 2 numbers. The Toyota runs longer, and it costs you roughly 40% less every single year to keep it there. And the trick with Toyota, the reason it can do both when nobody else can, is boring on purpose. Toyota lets a design get old before they change it. Ford chases the newest engine, the newest turbo, the newest screen every 3 years, because new sells trucks off a lot. Toyota runs the same proven parts for a decade until every last bug has been found and fixed by somebody else. When you buy one, you are buying something that has already been debugged by the 10 years of owners who came before you. That is not cheap engineering. That is priceless engineering. And it ends up in your driveway as a truck that simply does not surprise you. Nobody ever had to walk into an office and defend a Tacoma repair. I never once did. And there is one more thing on the Tundra worth knowing, because the mistake people make is buying too much truck. If you are not towing at the very top of the rating every day, the half-ton Toyota will do everything you actually need and cost you less to feed and fix than the heavy duty you talked yourself into. Buy the truck for the work you do on a normal Tuesday, not the work you imagine doing twice a year. So let me pull the camera back, because this is bigger than which truck to buy. This is about a number that follows you for 15 years, and most men never sit down and add it up. Say you keep a truck 10 years. On repairs alone, the Ford costs you around $230 a year more than the Toyota. Sounds small? It is not. Over the life of the truck, that is real money out of your pocket. And that is before you count the bigger thing, the truck that dies early. The one that forces you back to the lot and into a new $60,000 loan you did not need for another 5 years. The badge on the tailgate is not free. There is a tax on it, and you do not pay it all at once. You pay it a few $100s at a time, in a shop, on a Tuesday afternoon, when you least expect it and can least afford it. And here's the thing I learned late, the thing I wish somebody had leaned over a fence and told me 30 years ago when I was young and proud and loyal to a logo. The most expensive truck you can own is not the one with the biggest sticker on the lot. It is the one that spends the most nights in the shop. I paid for that lesson with 14 years of fleet invoices, with my name at the bottom. You can have it tonight for free. I am not telling you to hate the truck you drive. I am telling you to stop letting a logo make a decision that a spreadsheet should make. The trucks on this list are not magic. They are just cheaper to keep, year after quiet year. And that is the only kind of tough that ever mattered. So here is exactly what I want you to do tonight, and it will not cost you a dime. Before you fall in love with any truck on any lot, before you sign anything, go look up its real repair cost and its real odds of lasting. It is public. It is free. Anybody can pull it up on a phone in 2 minutes. Do not trust the salesman. Do not trust the commercial with the truck driving up the mountain in the rain. Trust the ledger, because the ledger is the only thing in this whole business that has never once tried to sell you something you did not need. And I want you to do one more thing for me. Down in the comments, tell me what you drive and how many miles are on it right now. Today, I read them. I want to see how many of you are already past 200,000 and in which truck. Because those comments tell the real story better than any study a company can run. Next time, I am going to show you the one engine you should walk away from, even when it wears a good badge. The specific model years inside these very brands that I would not take for free. Because a good brand can still build a bad year. And there are 3 of them I would run from with my hands in my pockets. Until then, stop buying the badge, start buying the ledger, and keep the truck you already paid for running 1 more year. It owes you that, and it is cheaper than you think.